right? Yeah. Here it's just good hanging out.
You are good?
Yeah, perfect.
Mayor, I am recording. We are recording.
All right, welcome everyone, both here in person and those online. This is the city of Cottonwood Heights. It's our work session for Tuesday, July 6th, 2021. Not for the record, but for my wife's benefit. Today is my 51st wedding anniversary. So I should get a medal for over 50 years. So.
Or she should, yeah.
Anyway, welcome everyone. If you'll please refer to the agenda. Well, before we do that, we need to excuse Councilor Michael, who is out of town on business and has a very important meeting tonight that with the work that doesn't allow her to attend. The first item on our agenda is Salt Lake City Academy Slam. I guess it's a music. Are they here?
Yes.
Oh, they're online.
Yes.
All right. We'll bring you up and we'll turn the time over to you.
Well, great. Do you have visual content?
We do. I can see you.
Hello. Well, greetings. My name is Steve Auerbach, and I'm the executive director of an organization called the Salt Lake Academy of Music, or SLAM. SLAM's a new nonprofit that was founded in 2019 in response to an unforeseen need for financial aid, averaging about $1,200 a student, among about half of the families enrolled in a program that I ran for 10 years called Music Garage. And so from 2009 to 2019, we saw that there was a need for financial aid amongst our families. So we formed a nonprofit and we opened doors of a state-of-the-art studio in Sugar House, just located at about 2100 South and 1300 East. And we opened in January 2020, and then of course had to close only 73 days later for the pandemic to do containment. And then we reopened on May 18th and have had no incidents whatsoever since then. We had plexiglass barriers and masks and temperature at the door and all that. We had great success. And so now we're on target to meet our pre-pandemic goals. And the reason I'm here today is that we have a contingency of families from Cottonwood Heights and serve that community here at Sugar House, a quick ride on the belt route to get to us. And what I want to do is share with you a little bit about who we are and what we do. We are a nonprofit music school that provides free to fee, sliding fee scale instruments and instruction to children that want to learn music. So we have a partnership that started with KRCL Community Radio before the pandemic, just as we opened in February, by February, the first month after we were open for a month. And the program is called SlamX, and it's basically a musical instrument recycling program where people can bring their unused musical instruments, donate them to the nonprofit, take the tax write-off if they like, and then those instruments get recycled and given to children on a free-to-fee sliding scale based on their need, and giving access to any child in the county that wants to study music. We teach classical music, rock music, jazz music, bluegrass, country, all kinds of different music. And our instructors are really top level people. They're internationally renowned, some of them as musicians and producers who I've been working with for the last 16 years or so. So we've created this state-of-the-art, inclusive, safe, and fun place where musical kids of any background or socioeconomic status can find a community in connection with like-minded peers, an expert staff, and the opportunity to develop the craft and the confidence, social skills, and the leadership opportunities that go with that. So that all said, can I do a screen share real quick and then I'll finish up?
Yeah, go right ahead, Steve. Go
Okay,
right
I'm
ahead.
gonna go ahead and see if I can share this with you. One moment, please. You should be able to see a presentation in PowerPoint. That'll just walk through the slides for. Can you all see that?
We can see it. We got our two big screens in our council room.
And is the image large enough? Can you read okay, see okay? Is that all right?
Yep, looks good.
All right. Well, I got into this business back in 2005. I joined a startup team of a chain of rock music schools called School of Rock. And I was their first national hire and opened schools, 5 schools in the Western United States. These are some of the kids from that school in Asbury Park, New Jersey at a music festival. And one of them, Maddie Rice from Salt Lake City, is now this young woman who you can see on Saturday Night Live. She went from the Steve Colbert Late Show to Saturday Night Live and took the guitar chair, which is a very competitive chair. She's just one of our many successes that we've had. Our kids end up doing all kinds of different things with their lives. The people in this photo are now about 30 years old. This is from about 15 years ago. And they're all averaging age about 15 years in that picture. These are some of the kids from Utah Arts Festival. From 2009 to 2019, I mentioned that my team and I developed a program called Music Garage. It was the most award-winning music program in Salt Lake County, and with an average of over 3 years of student retention and students performing an average of 20 festival shows per capita each year. That includes Deer Valley Amphitheater, all the big venues around the state, festivals and so forth. City Weekly has recognized us rather nicely in their 25th anniversary issue back in 2014. We still have the same team that was the Music Garage team. We just changed the organization so it's a nonprofit, so we can meet that need that we were unaware of for the need for financial aid amongst the families. We were approached by Jonathan Ruga and Century Financial. They're a company that offices in the One Utah Center downtown. And they hired me to write the strategic plan to form the Salt Lake Academy of Music because they saw the need as well. And they were really instrumental, no pun intended, in getting this going. This is a look at our team. I'm the executive director. That's me. Terrence Terrence here is our rock music director, internationally renowned. We have symphony people. We have former students and graduates that teach. We have jazz players. This woman, Julian Moon, had a recording contract with Warner Brothers Records. Now she's on an independent label. All really high-level people that we pay very well. And we do that thanks to grants and other community resources. Here's just some of the team. We'll go through some pictures real quick, and I'm just about done. Hannah Thomas Hollins teaching cello. Kim Nolan teaching vocal and piano. Joe Chisholm teaches trombone and trumpet. Great jazz player. Sam Cottrell. Aiden Woodward teaches electric and upright bass. Georgi Petrov is a Bulgarian immigrant who went to New Orleans to study jazz after he got his classical music degree in Bulgaria, and he got 2 degrees in Louisiana and came up here during the pandemic with his wife, who's a speech pathologist. And she had a job here because there was no work for him down in New Orleans during the pandemic. Great guy, great player, great teacher. June Crosby teaches violin. Terrence Hansen, our rock music director, and then the other teachers. The performance program, we have several levels to the program. There's a lessons program and a performance program, a recording program, and a touring program. And that's for all the different genres that we offer. So eventually, as we grow, again, it's a new nonprofit. So hopefully next summer we can take everybody out to the West Coast and do a nice little tour and do some festivals and venue shows there. Here's Terrence in action with the kids during rehearsal. Here's Terrence administering pain that someone doesn't want to hear. Same student in a little tutoring session. That's me with one of the kids. Just some nice quotes from some of the students and others. There's lots of testimonials on our website. We play, like I said, all of the big festivals, including the Utah Blues Festival, where we sponsored and these are all real pictures of our students. We provided a blues music training program. And then this is the granddaddy of the blues here in Utah is Brian Kelm, who's had a blues show on Monday nights for, I think, going on 40 years now since he moved to Utah. The kids have played fireworks events. It's July 4th fireworks, I think, at Sugar House Park. large crowds of thousands at the Deer Valley Amphitheater. We've had clinics from all kinds of different people. This is Daryl Anger from the Berklee School of Music. And basically, we provide just a lot of opportunities for kids, all on a free-to-fee sliding fee scale. And we offer a really safe and inclusive environment for kids. And we just wanted to share with you who we are. Did Corey get on this call? Is he here? All right, we're going to have one of our Cottonwood Heights families chime in. They're in Canada, so maybe they got the time zone confused. They're on their vacation. But this is our facility. One of our graduates teaching a class on recording. More pictures of the facility. And with that, I'll stop the share and I'll say thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. Sorry if I went a few minutes over.
No, Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I'd like to refer your name to our city arts council because then we're very supportive of the arts, and in that referral to the arts council, there's hopefully maybe an opportunity for a time to collaborate.
Sure.
My second question is you're I guess a 501c3 nonprofit, right?
That is correct.
So where do you have public funding through either ZAP or?
Yeah, great question. We receive funding through the Zoo Arts and Parks program.
Okay.
We receive funding through the Salt Lake City Arts Council.
Okay.
That helps pay for our sliding fee scales. We've received funding from various foundations and so forth. Yes, public and private.
Well, great. I personally sat on the ZAP board for a couple of years. I'm not on this year, and I'm very familiar with your program actually. And I remember how it was rated so high by us as a board. So my compliments to you, and thank you for sharing with us what you're doing, because sometimes we get so caught up in sports and athletic, we don't realize how important the arts are. So,
all right, looks like Corey Daigle is in from Canada. I don't know if you have a say hi.
Yeah, I am here. Can you folks hear me?
Yeah, Corey, go ahead, take a minute. We're kind of running out of time. Steve
okay.
did a great job of introducing what you guys are all about. But anybody from our Cottonwood Heights, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, great. And I'll be quick, folks, and thank you. So I live in Cottonwood Heights with my wife and two girls. We live in the Old Mill area. Girls are 9 and 11. You folks actually might remember them from a styrofoam initiative they did at Butler Elementary a couple of years ago, where they're asking for your help, and you did help. So I appreciate that. But in any event, our kids, and I think I'm not familiar with the voices, but you hit the nail on the head when you said, when you reiterated the importance of music to particularly developing brains, and I think there's a real opportunity, not just in our community, but in the state and the country, to really to improve that access to our kids, and that's where I see SLAM really filling that void. You know, Butler Elementary, as an example, doesn't have a music program, which is not uncommon for a lot of elementary schools, but study after study shows the benefits for those developing brains of introducing music. So our girls have joined SLAM earlier this year. They were actually at another school, a for-profit school, previous to that. Great experience. I would say SLAM is very unique in the sense that these teachers care. I mean, it's really hard to describe how much passion they have for the kids, and it's just so exhilarating to see these kids perform after a very short amount of time, and to see the confidence that they have, and just the ability, yes, but I would argue that SLAM is just as much about instilling confidence and empowerment to our youth as it is around teaching kids how to play like Eddie Van Halen, which they do, by the way. So overall, I would just say, folks, as a Cottonwood Heights resident, yes, currently on vacation right now in Canada, but coming back soon. I can't emphasize the importance of these type of programs, and if there is an opportunity to increase the visibility and the awareness and the access to these programs for the kids in our community, yeah, I think it can only do us well as a community.
Thank you.
Again, Corey, thank you very much. I wish we had more time to talk about this in detail, but for one,
Yes.
as the mayor of the city, being involved with the Zoo Arts and Park for many years, this program has had one of the highest ratings that I remember seeing on that board, and we'll definitely want to connect SLAM with our Arts Council and look for opportunities to enhance.
Newsletter article.
Yeah, and we'll refer it to our public relations people, maybe some little article in our.
I'll reach out. I'll reach out to Paula Melgar and get that information.
Yeah. Good
Okay,
idea.
I'm happy to do that.
Great.
All right, Steve, Corey, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Much
Thank
love
you,
for that.
folks.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye now.
Okay, take care.
Steve's the Jack Black of Utah.
I tell you, those programs are amazing, you know, on the track board, when we look to review dozens and dozens of applications for funding. There are so many creative groups in our valley, it just blows me away. So whenever I see them, it's just a small sample of how much quality and talent is out there in the arts. But anyway, moving back to the agenda, we want to now review the business meeting tonight, and we have, after the welcome and pledge of allegiance, we have 2 acknowledgements. So Robbie, you're going to introduce Sergeant's promotional person, or how are we going to do that?
Well, Ken Mitchell was not here.
Well, it's just on the agenda. That's what I'm looking at. So you'll just announce it then? Is that what it'll be?
Yeah, I actually wasn't planning on, I guess I did not know that was on there, but I will be happy to.
So do you want to bring him back another time?
I can, or I can check to see if he's actually on. And I can
What
bring
do you
him.
want?
We can do it another time.
We'll just
I thought
do another time. It's in coordinated time because we want to recognize, Ken.
Okay,
So I'll put it off. It's just on the agenda. Then we have the Government Finance Officer Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. Tim, you'll introduce
I'll
that.
introduce that,
And
yeah.
I think, again, that's great acknowledgement of the efforts in our budget preparation by outside objective people. We have citizen comments. Then we have public comment on the rezone application right here at 2300 East. Mike, you want to talk about that now?
That's the first item under staff reports. So
Oh,
we'll
yeah,
come right back to
that's right. We'll talk about it again. And it's got approving or not approving general plan amendment plus the rezone. So
Right.
It's got a lot on the agenda.
Yeah.
Then we have resolution appointing Mr. Is it Ebler
Yes.
to the planning commission. His resume is quite impressive, and I guess you've interviewed him. And
Yes,
any comments? He's had some experience, obviously, doing these types of things.
he's had a lot of experience both in planning commission work and council work, and in Maryland. The other thing that's intriguing is he's had work on trails committee groups
Yes, I
too,
noticed that too.
which may be a good asset for the planning commission. So
I think he'll represent District 3, right?
Two.
Two.
District 2.
Oh, okay. I was looking at all those on the
Yeah, there was a late update.
on the resolution because it's confirming all of them and their dates. Yeah. Then item 6.4 is approving an agreement with GoEd for an outdoor recreation infrastructure grant. And that's who wants to introduce that?
Yeah, that's the outdoor recreation grant from the state of Utah, 150,000. That goes towards our Ferguson Park and Trailhead project.
Okay, and I think we all understand what that is, and that's just
And that's also on the agenda
win-win
tonight.
situation.
Yep.
Item 6.5 is ratifying a bid and awarding construction contract for Sea Lake roadway improvements. The grant construction for $800,000. So
Is this the, yeah,
Next year's worth of
slurries and. Yeah, that's part of the 5-year plan project. So it's a road reconstruction on Alpin Way and then also in the Racket Club Drive area. So that's Winesap, Pippin,
Oh, wow.
Jonathan.
Yep.
All of that will be road reconstruction.
Great. And again, I think it's important to emphasize that part of that 5-year plan we looked at, and we applaud those efforts. Item 6.6 is appointment of Jessica Despain to the Historic Committee.
Had a chance to interview her as well. Paula was there and Ann also, and I think she'll be a really good asset to the committee. She has a passion for this and also has some really good skills related to some social media elements and things that really help the committee.
Is she connected with the Despains from?
Is she?
Yeah, I think her ex-husband is
That
part of
whole-
that family.
Spain have some history in our city, so that'll be a nice addition and is replacing Mr. Erickson, I think. So other than that, it's the consent calendar. That'll be our business meeting later. Okay. Going back to our work session, just a reminder, we'll try and save some time at the end for a closed session to talk about a real estate matter. So we can make sure we finish up here about 20 to 7. So the first item on staff reports is the 2300 East rezone. And Mike, we'll turn that over to you. I think we have the applicant in the audience, so he can hear our discussion.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. We'll jump in here, get on the arrow. Yeah. So as you said, this is technically two separate applications that kind of rely on each other. So we're presenting it for consideration jointly, but it's two different motions, two different items. It's a land use change and a zone map amendment at 7432 South, 2300 East. Just around the corner, just down the hill from City Hall here, fronting on 2300 East. You see, until very recently, it was part of a larger property that was just very recently subdivided off. So there's an individual parcel now that fronts on 2300 East that does not extend back to the west into the neighborhood. It's a little small, I apologize, but the current zoning is R18, but you can see along 2300 East, it's about the only portion along there that is R18. So the request is to amend the land use map from residential low density to residential medium density, which would pave the way for a zone change from R18, just single family residential, to R28, which is multifamily residential, but no more than a 2-family dwelling. So twin home or a duplex type of use would be appropriate. And again, as you can see, the whole surrounding area on 2300 East is already zoned R28. The reason this one was not, at least partially, was in the last 10 to 15 years, the parcel arrangement on this lot has changed numerous times and parcels have been consolidated. So I've got some more information on that in a second. The outline in red, when the application was made, that parcel was not its own parcel. But as I said, one of staff's requirements was before final action was taken, that it had to actually be a parcel to be rezoned. So that subdivision process has been completed. It is its own parcel now. So this does not affect the larger piece to the west. And again, the current land use, again, pretty small there, but currently it's residential low density because of the larger piece that it was previously connected to. And the proposal brings it in line with the rest of the land use along that street. So now we get into the history here. So when the application was made before the recent subdivision, it was 1.7 acres, single family home, and some orchard kind of farm agricultural use there. And we've got some parcel history here. So you can see the outlined in red is the parcel as it existed. I should say the lighter red, the shading is the larger 1.7 acre parcel. And then the dark red outline is the new parcel that was made. But you can see historically, this was 4 different parcels in a much different configuration. The dashed lines represent the old property lines. This is the new subdivision that was made, that's been approved. And then we go here, these are old maps from 2004, so right before incorporation, it still showed that old parcel configuration with the 4 separate parcels instead of one large one. And even in the original 2005 Cottonwood Heights zoning map, that whole corridor shows as R28, really matching this line right here. So the R28 kind of followed this line of parcels here. So you can see this area would have been covered by that. And we think what happened is when these parcels were consolidated over the years, we don't have any record of that coming through city process. So when these pieces became one large piece, I think they took on the zoning attributes of the larger piece there of the R18 and became zoned R1 just because of those property changes. But again, this is in line with the context of the area. This is actually in line with the original zoning map of Cottonwood Heights and fits the area pretty well. The R28 zone is a standard 2-family residential zone. So a single family home can be built there, but a 2-family home can also be built. I believe the applicant has stated his intention is to build a twin home on that smaller parcel there. So staff recommends approval. In early June, the Planning Commission also voted unanimously to recommend approval of both the land use map amendment and the zoning change. We had initially received a few comments that had some concerns over high density housing. And I think there was maybe some clarification provided between the written comments in the meeting, or maybe some worry that the whole parcel was being rezoned. But at the actual Planning Commission meeting, the comments shared were largely positive. So again, staff recommends approval and the Planning Commission does as well.
And the mic for those in the audience who are listening, again, back to your map showing the properties directly to the south, directly to the north are R28. And currently, if I'm not, your Hans, and they are duplexes now or twin homes.
Yeah, many of them are. I don't know that all of them are, but certainly across the street, there's some twin homes on the other side, and even just to the south there. Yeah, there are twin homes in the area. There is a precedent here.
I don't know that there's so much.
Yeah, so this fits with what exists.
Yeah.
We're not, this isn't going to be an outlier in any way.
Right. You know, the concern would be if this wasn't parceled off and you had that full large property be rezoned. That's a little different, but
And I mean, I'll be honest, I get a little bit of a disconnect from that 2005 zoning map he showed us, because this specific parcel was one we discussed back and forth extensively in the
Yeah.
general plan creation process, because it kept flipping for us. We're like, no, the people on Butler Hills didn't want the R2 going back there.
Yeah.
So we get put that way, and then it would say, but everything on 23rd East is, that's where we kind of got that was all this one parcel.
yeah.
And so
Yeah, I don't know. This was scanned. We just scanned the
No,
hard
I-
copy.
I-
that
I-
came with the plan, so.
I remember what it was, this specific issue, and that's why my first question is, Michael, are they going to actually get the subdivision done? If the subdivision is done, then I think it makes sense that this gets to match what else is
Yeah,
along the street.
yeah. And the
But there
planning,
was a lot of concern with the
Yeah.
neighborhood back on Butler Hills Drive on adding R2 onto that street.
but on this particular parcel, planning commission's looked at the details, taken comment, staff's looked at it.
Yep.
Council, any concerns? I mean, to me, it seems only logical.
So this is a two-part, because it was originally a low, and R1 to R2 is between low and medium then, huh?
Yes,
the
yeah,
crossover
that's,
point.
yeah, right in that area is the threshold for the land use change. So yeah, this is 2 separate items, which is why there are 2
It's
ordinances.
what, 2/10 of an acre, 1.19?
It's point, yeah, 0.196.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, okay. All right, any questions of Mike?
Is this its own now, it's its own separate subdivision?
Yes,
the way
it's a 1-lot subdivision essentially.
Mike, has there been any outcry or anything about changing something? It sounds like it's very compliant to what's already there.
Yeah, I think there were a few, I think a few were included in your packet, a few comments that were concerned. I think some of those were maybe some confusion over the extent of what was being proposed. Some may have been real concerns, but like I said, at the public meeting, we had a lot of neighbors nearby join the meeting to share support for this.
Some of that, Doug, may also have been some residual, like I say, it was a fairly significant item in 2005-06.
But a lot's changed since then. The lot literally has changed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and this fixes the issue. It's broke off. Now there's a hard line there that resolves that
more
issue.
clear.
And it fits. And I always look at it from more of a layman's perspective, what is the existing conditions adjacent to the area, and it seems to fit.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, it's pretty obvious to me. Okay. Thanks, Mike. Moving on to one of my favorite topics of the last couple of years. Item B, accessory dwelling units discussion. So we understand that, and for the council's information, again, this is something we talked about a couple of years ago and came to a point where we agreed not to agree and didn't move forward. Then the legislature is now taken it up at that level and has put it back on us to adopt an ADU ordinance with some parameters. So
Correct. So yeah, in the last legislative session, House Bill 82, which is a building code regulation bill. The biggest impact that this bill had, it had some changes to the building code, but all was done to pave the way to allow accessory dwelling units in single family residential areas throughout the state of Utah as permitted uses. So a lot of this language is pulled directly from that legislation or very closely to it. So it defines internal accessory dwelling units as permitted uses in all single family zones statewide. It takes effect October 1st, and cities may adopt local ordinances. If a city doesn't, then it's just it takes effect everywhere in that city without any of the few limitations we're able to impose. And it strictly limits local authority to prohibit and regulate. This is a slightly new term, IADUs, so internal ADUs, or ADUs that are built into the footprint of the primary structure. So we're not talking about buildings, accessory buildings in the backyard. This is just the internal structure. So there's the definition there. Within the footprint of a primary dwelling at the time the ADU is created and for the purpose of long-term rental, 30 days or longer.
in your,
So someone adding on to create an ADU, they couldn't do it for that purpose. They could add on to the house and they'd have to do it afterwards.
Yeah, it's kind of an order of operations thing at that point. You have to, it's got to be within the existing footprint of the house at the time the request comes in to build an ADU. So like I said, local authority is pretty strictly limited. And it's basically, unless otherwise stipulated in the legislation, a city or municipality may not establish restrictions or requirements for the construction or use of an ADU. And it even details the things we may not restrict as a city, which is the size of the actual dwelling unit, the total lot size, although that's somewhat contradicted later in the legislation, or the street frontage present on the property. It does state, though, that ADUs must comply with applicable building health and fire codes. And it does allow, this is one thing that's a little bit new. It allows for egress windows to be updated. So even if an egress window is already present, it's not up to today's code. It has to be updated to meet today's code.
for fire safety, yeah.
When did that change, Mike? When did that,
That was part of this.
what year though? What year would that have, to be in compliance?
I don't know exactly. The building code gets updated about every 4 to 6 years, but I don't know how the egress window requirements have changed. Okay, so here is essentially what municipalities can do. And if it's not listed, this is again summarized pretty closely to what's in the legislation, but if it's not listed in the legislation, then we are not able to impose that. So we may require a permit or license. We can require owner occupancy, which is critical. We can prohibit multiple utility meters. We can require ADU design in a manner that's consistent with single family dwellings. However, there's another piece of legislation that prohibits cities from imposing design standards on single family dwellings. So that may be contradictory. We'll need to look into that further. We can only require one additional off-street parking space, and this was a big point of discussion a couple years ago when we discussed this.
We're gonna talk about it again.
What was proposed in ours was 2 additional off-street parking stalls in addition to the 2 that are required for a single-family home. This, go ahead.
And by the way, with this, maybe you're gonna say this, Mike, but with this, originally the legislation that was proposed did not have an additional off-street
Right.
parking element in there. The league really worked hard to. at
Right,
least
we
address
were
that.
interviewed by representing the legislature, and that's one thing that we fought for. My only question with that, and I'll throw it out right now, it says we may require one additional off-street parking space. Can we require that it cannot be in tandem?
I don't think we can, but we're gonna, that's one of the items of clarification we're gonna need to reach out to the league for between now and when this comes back to you.
Because again, my position, if it's in tandem, the owner's just gonna tell you to park on the road.
That doesn't do much.
Yeah,
What that means, Doug, is that
If
if it's in the garage,
He's living in.
yeah, if you live in, if the 2 cars in the garage count and
Well,
you put
behind
the ADU on the driveway in front of the garage with cars in the garage, and the owner of the garage, the owner's gonna say, move. And where are they gonna go?
Well, we've got the same problem down the 17th. I wish,
Yeah.
we do not want that stacked parking.
So, yeah, that, and I think
Yeah.
looking at least one other example, I think it's in Sandy, they prohibit in tandem. And I think that makes sense, and if we can look at that.
yeah, we'll try to.
Because
drill
our
down on
our
that.
language otherwise, Mike, what you did before was outstanding.
Yeah,
I thought
it was outstanding all the way through. That's the only thing that I think is problematic is if we force the cars onto the road, and that's historically the biggest complaint we have yet.
yeah. So we'll get clarification on that as this moves
Yeah,
I
forward.
mean, kind of almost defeats the purpose. Otherwise,
And if it
Yeah,
says we
just-
can require one off street,
The sense is we're,
it makes sense.
you know, it's coming from not requiring any parking and having to negotiate to get to even one stall. We'll see how far we can require that.
Enforcement's the other thing I'm concerned about. We were talking, or just today about this, is trying to, there's laws and then there are those that are held strictly.
Mhm.
And it's difficult when a neighbor lives next to that and sees extra cars, the party or whatever's going
Yeah.
on. And then where do we have enough time and energy to enforce? And the fines too, should be higher, I think, as far as people that are out of compliance, because they said, well, it's just a cost of doing business.
Sure, yeah, and that goes back to our short-term rental discussion,
Yeah.
which, we've discussed previously.
Right.
But
This is different, I know, but I mean, enforcement is going to be an issue.
So in this one, this legislation, the second to last bullet, it allows a city to hold a lien on a property that's found in violation. It's a whole long list of, violation and enforcement and notice and hearing and, that kind of thing to, if a property is consistently in violation, you can go through this process to revoke its right to operate this type of thing.
So
It is long and extensive and probably very labor
So
intensive.
everything else in your previous draft that was, we talked about was so good before, everything else that's not on this list, we can use.
This is what we can do. So if what we wrote before is one of these things, we can keep it.
If it's in addition to, we can't.
Correct.
I think we required, like it was training for.
Yeah, I don't think we cannot
We have to
require
pull
that.
that stuff out.
Yeah, and so the one thing that will be up to the council is where we want to go with detached ADUs. We can still allow those, we can prohibit those. This does not apply to those at all. They were in the previous ordinance as a conditional use with really strict criteria with way increased setbacks and parking and things like that.
If I remember correctly, we'll need to refresh our memory, but I think it was well written as well.
Mhm.
And again, as long as the parking issue was dealt with, from my perspective, what you had written before was actually excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would tend to think with a detached ADU, we could require stricter parking than we can with internal. So there's so here's the one that kind of is contradictory. We can prohibit ADUs on lots less than 6,000 square feet, even though previously in the legislation, it says we cannot restrict total lot size. So that's not a lot of parcels in the city, but the very small lots can be restricted. So you have some lots in some planned unit developments like a Giverny or a
Or will
Newberry
like a-
Grove
or
that
will
have-
Apply like in a condominiumized.
sure, yeah. And then we can also record a notice of ADU against the property title, which is a good way to account for ADUs. And when there's property sales or property acquisitions, that will all pull on a title report, whether it's been properly licensed or permitted. This is interesting, and I feel important to touch on. This legislation also makes it illegal for private HOAs to enforce or restrict ADUs. And that's not just proactive, that's retroactive.
Wow.
So if there are private organization or private developments with CCNRs or HOA
So
regulations,
we
that-
have a dozen, 2 dozen HOAs in our city.
quite a few, yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
So
How
this-
do they become aware?
Good question. I think part of this will probably be some sort of a PR campaign to make this known or this ordinance known when it takes effect. And that could be one way to do it, but
Probably become aware at the point they try to tell them you can't do that.
yeah,
You know,
certainly
because you
there's
know
that.
I
Yeah.
can,
You're right.
and
This will lead to some litigation because this is the legislature undercutting contracts that have already been made. I think this is attackable myself.
So that's in there right now. So our recommendation for how to proceed is we'll use the previous ordinance as a starting point and basically remove what's not allowed anymore, and use that to get to an ordinance we feel is manageable, but also appropriate given the new restrictions that we have. And this needs to be, the ordinance, or the legislation takes effect October 1st, so we'd like to have the ordinance in place by then. So our plan is to present this to the Planning Commission through July and August, and then be back to the council early fall.
Would you let us know about that parking thing
Yeah.
on the side?
Yep.
I'm really curious about that, because I think that's the big stumbling block for most people that I've talked to.
I'd probably say as on a discretionary point, put the non-tandem parking in for the discussion to the planning commission. So it doesn't have to be added later.
Yeah, I think that's cleaner.
Like Mike said, I have a hunch that we're not going to be able to restrict that, but definitely look into it.
It's definitely in the gray area, I know, because a lot of people don't even think of it. But if they're requiring one additional parking, I could argue that we agree with that wholeheartedly, just to include that piece, not tandem. There's some logic to that, but it'd be worth getting an answer to.
Yep, we will do that. So that's where we are. I think a lot of cities will be going through this over the next couple of months because it affects everybody. So big point of discussion at the league conference as well.
Yeah, my last comment, it really protects the neighborhoods. And if you think a couple of those areas where we've got a lot of rentals, it's just, you have a hard time even driving down the street as you go in and out of cars that are on the road.
Sure.
But I'm supportive of having ADUs as long as we can make them safe for those renting them and going with the parking. And again, the ordinance was written before was outstanding in that regard. Thanks, Mike. Any further comments from the council? All right. Thanks, Mike. Item C, another one of my favorite topics. Ferguson Canyon Overflow Parking and Park Design.
Okay, we'll keep going. So the current plans that we're about to show and discuss are what is called a 60% design drawing, which means the site layout and design is substantially complete, but the next 40% is essentially all the utility drawings and the real civil engineering construction plan level drawings. So this is the point of the project where we want to get feedback from the council, we've taken it to the open space committee. This needs to go to a few different places. And then we'll, based on that feedback, proceed with the final, finalizing the construction plans.
Well, before you do that, will you have a public meeting?
Yeah, that's part of it as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're looking to, late July, early August for that. So this is the full project. So it's, as you'll remember, it's technically two different projects because it's two separate funding sources. It's the parking lot and restroom as one project, and the park and the signage as another project. This is a site plan showing all of that put together with the parking lot and the trail design. And as you remember, with the Bonneville Shoreline Trail Access Master Plan, one of the recommendations was to eliminate the non-ADA parking up at the trailhead once this full parking lot is in place. So that would be proposed as part of this project. So I don't have a close-up perspective of the parking area now, but it's a double-sided, perpendicular parking area with a turnaround. This has the restroom facility, some pretty major retaining and things like that.
How many stalls again, do
Side.
you remember?
It's in the ballpark of mid
It's,
60s.
65.
Yeah.
65
But it'll
stalls
end up being probably about 55.
compared to up there now, we have 8 or 9,
To maybe 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so 6 times. Yeah.
And will all those be converted to, what will those be converted to
So-
once this is done?
Long term, I think that's still to be determined. Short term, I think we're just gonna landscape over them or put a curb along them and just restrict parking there and leave a couple accessible stalls.
Yeah.
And then we can look at, future landscaping or beautification up in that area. But the short-term goal is to just make sure they're not parking stalls anymore. And that was prevalent from the neighborhood as part of that Bonneville Shoreline Plan process. So this is a zoomed in version of the park. Again, the site's pretty constrained. The east is up on this picture, and you can see just east of the looped pathway there, it's really steep hillside. So the site's very narrow, very constrained, but the design theme and the kind of vision here is to leave it as natural as possible to match kind of the aesthetic of the hillside and of the natural landscape there. So even where you see this big green space, that's not just grass there, that's kind of natural brush and kind of some of what's there today, seed mix and that kind of thing.
Mike, to keep this in perspective, this whole piece you're showing less than a half acre?
No, this is
How big is it? It's not.
2.5 maybe.
Is it that big?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not very big.
2 to 2.5, I would say, because we do have this piece here that we've added on.
And you're counting the vertical space too.
The whole parcel, yeah. So everything that's colored there,
2.5.
roughly 2.5 acres, a lot of it being steep hillside. So it's kind of hard to tell, but this is all natural kind of landscaping and shrubbery proposed. It's a very kind of rugged type of dog park, not a typical fenced in area with flat grass.
We'll be careful. We're not going to call this a dog park. It's an off-leash area. in the
Right.
Park,
Correct.
because if it became a dog park, it would be.
Yeah, I think-
Be a regional amenity and it's too
Sure.
small for that. Yeah.
Part of what I think makes it work well as an off-leash area is you see 8 out of 10 people in Ferguson Canyon with dogs, where they have to park at this trailhead. This is a great complementary use to the, to the users of that trail that we see there.
Yeah, because they're taking their dogs up that canyon on leash and they can come by and let them run from there and get in their
Yeah.
cars.
But at the same time, the white path here is proposed to be an asphalt kind of small loop. So it's an asphalt ADA compliant path right through here. So the smaller loop is all proposed to be as, I think, fully ADA compliant and asphalt. This extended loop here will be kind of a crushed limestone.
Ah,
And then as we get up the hillside, it'll be more of a rougher, just kind of,
Yeah, I've seen the
Sure.
crushed limestone. That works well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Those two building structures, sorry, or
Yeah.
what do those indicate?
So the little red rectangles are picnic benches, just little benches to sit on. And then these two here are small pavilions that could hold one or two picnic tables underneath them. Obviously, there's trash receptacles proposed throughout here and a drinking fountain that will be close to the entry, which is a double gated entry.
So in the landscape plan, I mean, you can see some things on there. I don't know if this is just for aesthetic presentation purposes or actually landscape plan.
Mhm.
But like you said, it'll mostly be native.
Yeah.
We're not planting grass.
No.
Okay, so we don't need to introduce irrigation.
There, I think for the, new trees and shrubs, there may be some
Drip system.
minimal drip irrigation
Okay.
needed. That's, being
So we
worked
will
out.
have some trees and my suggestion is the trees try and match what's in that general area.
Yeah.
Not introduce something that's.
My question is to get up to the trailhead.
Mhm.
Originally, we talked about that steep hill going up there. What is the plan to get to the road go south?
Yeah, so
Wasatch and then walk up?
kind of the red dotted line here, you see, you'll park in the parking area. There will be a crosswalk, wayfinding signage, so people aren't, turning where they shouldn't be.
So that's the path.
And just up the sidewalk to the trailhead. Yep.
The yellow indicates the parking.
Those are the
stalls.
parking stalls that will be removed.
Okay. Is someone with the ADA parking for those that need it or not?
Yes, yeah. So the ADA parking will be there. That will stay. There's
Stay.
2 or 3 stalls there that are
That's
already
it,
there.
That's the maximum on that.
Yeah, whatever is required. I think a lot of that is for the amphitheater use. So that's where the ramps are, but yeah, those stalls will remain there. So I'll get to some of the amenities. What's proposed right now for fencing? I know this was a big point of discussion.
It's
At least
one of the most important pieces of it.
certainly in the visible areas. So where you enter and along the frontage and probably to an extent back, in this direction. The current proposal is a kind of a split rail wood fence with kind of horizontal slats, and then you put a mesh or some sort of link barrier between the slats. Right now, because it's on steep hillside and really thickly vegetated, the proposal is to put chain link up on the hillside that's
As long as it's black.
black vinyl treated and has
Black
black,
vinyl, it literally
slats.
almost disappears in the hillside.
Yeah, and that'll have black privacy slats, which, the elevation
Oh.
difference is pretty drastic, but it'll provide a little bit of
So you're
privacy.
actually putting in privacy slats in it,
That's what's proposed right now is
even
this,
with all the foliage and stuff?
this isn't chain link here, but this kind of, that kind of effect. Yeah, this is all up for discussion. So, that's one of the items that can be changed very easily.
See the one in the middle with the slats, the rail with
That.
the, like, that,
That one.
maybe a little darker, no, the other one next to it. Yeah,
Okay.
that one, the round.
Yeah, this is currently what's proposed
I
along
would
the
say
front.
something like that, even a little darker stain is, again, if you go to Colorado in the major regional parks, you'll see that very common. And as long as you got footage around it, it's very natural looking and again, it's great for off-leash areas. I question personally, I support the black vinyl on the hillside and stuff like that. I know some of the golf courses that I've done in the past, that's what we found out works the best because it's visual. I don't know about putting the privacy slats in it,
Okay.
but I may wait till public comment.
We'll get some feedback on that.
Because it's at the bottom of the hill and you can see through it.
Just see over it.
Yeah, it seems
Yeah,
like.
if you're up above, yeah, that's true.
It's like 85%.
Yeah, you know,
When you're here, you take 2 or 3 steps up and you're.
yeah, so it's
So we're
not.
trying to create privacy for the dogs.
Well,
Yeah.
But we have some of this down at Crestwood where the creek is, where they put up the 3 rails.
Yeah.
And then they put the mesh just to keep kids, balls, everything from going into that creek when it's running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a safety feature.
It's a safety feature, it works well, and it's aesthetically pleasing.
And at least preliminarily, the cost of wood rail fence is about the same as a chain link fence, whereas if you go to wrought iron, the cost goes up.
Oh,
quite a
yeah.
bit.
Oh, yeah.
So that's nice. It's a good aesthetic for that area and for the feel we're
Well,
trying
too,
to
when
achieve.
it's in the hillside and in that, it's fairly wooded area already.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
excited, yeah.
So this is the design as proposed. And again, the plan is to take this to all the places it needs to go for design feedback and then proceed to final construction drawings. Some of the recommendations that came either from staff or from the open space committee, ensure that we're adding enough trash receptacles. That's can be a big problem if there's not enough.
The other thing, I'm sorry, with
Yeah, go ahead.
trash, one thing you might consider at least put on your list is in the parking lot, having a location for a small dumpster.
Okay.
If you look at many of the small parks, it becomes a challenge to keep the trash in the office area empty. So if they have a may just look at that. It's marginal. Yeah.
We also think there's an opportunity to put some pollinator species right into those natural shrub types, which kind of achieves one of the
PTOS
PTOS priorities there. This says relocate drinking fountain to reduce unnecessary water line. So originally, the drinking fountain was located way over here.
Yeah.
So you have to run a water line all the way back. So we're proposing to just move it back.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Good suggestion.
It's not a huge property, so it's a pretty small loop. So I don't know that that one's necessary.
Mike, I have a question.
Yeah.
Many of the restroom facilities we have at parks and different things will be locked down sometimes in the winter. I know this has a double gate at the front. Is that parking, are those gates ever going to be used? And will that restroom remain open throughout season? Any change in seasons?
So the double gate is just park entry. So
That's just for the.
I think that's just to get into the park. So you don't have you leave one gate open and dog runs out.
What you should do is open the gate, take your dog that's on leash in between.
Yeah.
Close the gate,
Yeah.
unleash your dog, and then open the.
That's what it's
In a
for.
perfect world.
That's
Well,
what,
that's
that's
what-
what,
that's
that's what
what's
the double
designed.
gate allows.
Yeah.
That's what should happen, obviously.
But Doug asked an excellent question. And
Yeah,
we found
I
the
think it'd be
same
winterized
issue,
bathroom.
the same issue we had down at Mountain View. Originally, it was designed to be locked down every winter.
Like
We've
every
had to
other
go back,
bathroom.
we've had to go back and retrofit them to
And
be.
we
open.
plow it, you know what I mean? Obviously, this one we probably
So the
plow.
question is on the restroom. is-
Yeah, those are good questions.
I'd say probably not unless the council really wants to go there. I mean, there's
I'm
some
thinking-
elevation here and issues as far as the plowing of the path.
We may not want to plow, but I think you may want to look at what the cost benefit ratio is of having them be available to be open 12 months a year, because it seems like wherever I'm going, I'm getting a complaint, the bathroom is not open on some of our older parks. Down at Mountain View, we had to go back and change it, so,
Yeah, we're still looking at the design of the restroom.
yeah, and how,
But the parking lot will be plowed in the winter.
yeah. And the rest, so people are using the parking lot, even if there's snow sharing going up.
Right, that was
The
I was thinking
restroom still
about.
has.
Sherry.
When even when we look at the Forest Service and Salt Lake City Public Utilities on watershed management, the restroom is one of the highest concerns in our foothills, is the lack of restroom facilities.
And it's gonna be a smaller restroom than the
Yeah.
one that's at Montview.
Yeah,
It's not gonna be a 3-stall.
yeah, it doesn't need to be big, but
It's
I
gonna be
would
probably one of those.
look and see what it
Block
takes to make it so that pipes don't freeze up and burst in the winter. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great feedback. So next steps, we've been to the PTOS committee. They really liked the plan. Just the trash can recommendation came from them, just from kind of firsthand experience at different dog parks. The Architecture Review Commission actually is required to review this because it's in the Gateway District, so that will go there in a couple of weeks. And then we're looking to hold a neighborhood open house just for the
I
residents.
thought
in
you were
that
going to the
vicinity.
neighborhood house out in North Salt Lake, have them review it.
Yeah.
No, that's an organization.
Yeah, so this will
So that would be,
go
will that, we just do that here?
probably here. Yeah, we may have
We'll send
post
out,
these online,
we'll send
but
out notices to all the residents in the.
Yeah.
We also have to, and Mike and I have been working on this, we have to get the county's approval as well.
Is that just
Review
Martin, is that just
plan.
Martin or?
Pretty much Martin.
this has been sent to Martin Jensen for their,
He has landscape architects to look at it.
yeah, we haven't heard back yet, but we did send this to them.
I think they'll be thrilled. I think they'll be just ecstatic. It's even better than what they had originally planned, I think.
Well, and they were wondering if we were going to look at an amendment to the contract or agreement with them. They were surprised we were this far down the road on it. So So that was good.
because we have to have it constructed by the end of the year.
So it says substantially complete by the end of, by December.
It's a little bit of fudge factor.
Yeah, some of it'll depend on availability of materials and.
So can we have a ribbon cutting in December?
You want to do that?
Yeah, some of us will be gone.
One last
We
question.
may have some new people that can help us.
Remind me, is a bus going to be able to pull in there and turn around? No?
Well, we met with UTA and what we're doing is there's a ADA ramp that'll be going down to the shoulder because UTA doesn't, they don't like pulling into parking lots. They want to stay on the shoulder of Wasatch if they decide to put a bus stop there. But we're accommodating the potential UDOT improvements on Wasatch Boulevard.
Yeah, the widening.
Yes.
You can see that's this white,
Yeah.
that's the 10-foot
Yeah.
shared use path.
And then a
That's-
snowplow, obviously, get in there.
Yeah, and there'll be, the parking lot will be raised above the roadway. And there'll be a retaining wall, and then there'll be an ADA ramp that goes down to,
How high is that raised?
it's looking to be like about 7 feet.
Really?
Wow. Well, you have to have the parking lot. It can't, you don't want to have a big cross slope on the parking lot. You want it to be less than like 4%. So in order to do that, and then you also have the steep slope behind it as well. They're trying to balance it and put the wall in the front.
So 7 feet from Wasatch Boulevard? Is that what it is?
Yeah, from the future sidewalk. That'll be
So
part
right
of.
along the sidewalk will be a retaining wall?
Yeah, there'll be a retaining wall in the
And
front.
what kind of retaining wall? There's several kinds.
So they're still designing that.
Yeah.
They're still looking into that. That's part of the.
Yeah,
the
we went
federal
through a
project.
major retaining wall issue in District 3 on 30th East. So,
Yeah, this one will absolutely be engineered.
So we
Well, it
anticipate
could
Wasatch
be-
being higher, quite a bit higher.
Well, Wasatch, I think the way they're designing it is Wasatch is gonna stay pretty much where it is. It's the parking lot needs to come off of Prospector, which is significantly higher than Wasatch Boulevard. So you need to be able to connect to Prospector and kind of keep the same elevation in the parking lot, not have it be, very steep in the parking, so.
but a preference on that retaining wall, that not be a concrete wall, that it be the name, I don't know what the stone, like on 30th East.
Yeah, the block wall. I think they're looking at concrete, but there are finishing options.
A 7-foot concrete wall there.
Well, I haven't seen the actual final, like the way it'll look. So that's something they're looking at.
Yeah, a concrete wall would not, in my opinion, be very complimentary to a park-like setting. For several reasons. One is tagging would be major concern for me right there. And where if you've got the rocks set back, what you call that, but anyway, you know what I mean. It prevents the tagging, much more aesthetic. Maybe a little more costly, but I would seriously look at that. We'll have Robbie up there all the time cleaning off.
We'll look
Pictures
into
of-
it for sure.
Doug Peters.
Yeah, that's what they want.
I think the goal with all the design is to match the natural
Yeah.
aesthetic.
Yeah.
And
But in a
palette.
park-like setting, the concrete really.
Concrete also reverberates back to what would be to the west, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to be over there. So.
Well, I'm excited for this. This has been a long time coming. It takes care of a couple of priorities of our city. Good job.
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, I think that's all
The
we have.
park card from office buildings.
Yeah, that's right. Scott, that one's gonna be office buildings and back with Leanne Stillman, and I remember being at the rec center and writing letters of support to make sure we keep that as open space or something. All right. Thank you for that great presentation. Any final comments on any of those staff reports? Okay, hearing none. Quickly have just a couple calendar items. That is July We have 9th through the 17th is the we play Matilda at Butler Middle School. Doug, are you performing in it? In the past?
Not this year, maybe next year.
In the
You're
past,
gonna be Matilda next year.
But if you've checked your Facebook, if you have this Arts Council on Facebook, they've been updating with individuals that play different parts and everything. And I think, has anybody in here not seen the actual movie of Matilda? Anybody? Or has everybody seen it? I love it.
It's good how old your kids are.
It's I'm an older kid, but I've really loved it.
and I understand they've had tons of success in attracting
Exactly.
talented people. to
And
be
very
able to-
quality people, and they've doubled up so that they'll be able to do so many shows, two in each part. It's wonderful, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
No, that's going to be outstanding, and the Arts Council's done a great job. Also, July 19th through the 24th is Butlerville Days, and the parade is actually on the 24th that morning, right, Scott? It's
11 o'clock.
11 a.m. And
The day of the 47 parade is
Friday.
Friday or the day before.
day before. And we have the new route that we've used once that's coming down.
Just straight downhill.
Yeah, so we'll go downhill. And assuming all the council members will be in the parade, we don't know where yet, if you'll be riding a horse or a donkey, but in somewhere. Anyway, that'll be a great event. And hopefully we can have Ann take just a minute, one of our upcoming council meetings, just to
You don't have upcoming, you've got one.
whatever the next, would take just 5 minutes and tell us the highlights. I know we've got a beautiful brochure going
Yeah,
on in our newsletter.
yeah, the newsletter's got the calendar of all the stuff that's going on.
But you as a council, I'm sure will be asked, as I am every day, Belleville's Day is back. What are we doing? What's there? Are the fireworks there? Yes, they're there. Is the parade on? Yes, the parade is on. Is the carnival there? No, but we have so many other.
There are,
games and
and there
activities.
was one concern that came, well, that's the only reason we would go, but the reasoning behind no carnival was just, we were still not sure what the COVID situation would be like, and that is a major attraction. We were trying to keep things to where we could have as many people, but not necessarily draw 15,000 people to the park. So
Well, we'll get 15,000 there for the fireworks.
we may, you know,
Great entertainment. The stage is up. Historic committee's involved, right?
yeah, so let him do some other things and
Car shows there.
car show, the rolling car show earlier in the week. And not having the carnival was actually like I said, it was a hard decision. It affected the budget negatively quite a bit.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
But
Scheduling was difficult because nobody.
and there was also the scheduling item. But the theme on the float of the other things is just good old family fun. And so Anna's made a significant effort to make just about everything you can do there no cost. So she's trying to arrange some inflatables, but they wouldn't be a wristband or
I
cost.
just wish all the food trucks were free.
That is your exception. And if you want to shout out on the food at the food trucks, you will have to,
No,
you'll have to pay them.
I think we have,
Offering free food to everybody for any reason, you know.
I think there's 10 or 12 food trucks, which is.
Yeah, well, they talked about possibly even extending that a little bit, but there should be plenty, but I think people expect that. Bingo's gonna be going on. They're having yoga, something yogurt on the morning on the main stage and some other
There's a
things.
pickleball tournament going all week. too.
There is.
The mayor's planning on playing in that. I've been informed of that.
Yes, 3 divisions.
Yeah, one of the.
Maybe in a
one of the-
wheelchair, but I'll be doing it.
No,
As far as the parade, we have space for council on the float.
Oh, we do.
That's what
At the
we're
latest.
planning on, although there may be a vehicle.
You have
for
to
the
dress
mayor
up as a
this year.
squirrel.
That's good. Will it be a big mobile thing around us so if rotten fruit comes at us or?
I haven't built that.
Yeah, we built that into the budget.
Throw that down. All right, that'd be a great event.
Sounds
And
fun.
hopefully
Sounds fun.
Ann can take just 5 minutes in a future meeting and talk that.
It's good to have it back.
All right, back to the agenda. We are now going to go into a closed session to talk about real estate. So I would entertain a motion to close the work session and move into a closed session with the city attorney and the council and the city manager and who else?
Like Mike Johnson, Scott Jurgis,
Mike Johnson, yeah, that.
Paula, and then Matt has to be here for the technical issues with the
Matt,
Matt.
oh, that Matt. Yeah, I thought Matt was here. All right, entertain the motion. Mr. Motion.
Close the open session and open a closed session for the purpose of discussing real estate.
It's been moved.
Second.
Been moved by Scott, seconded by Councilmember Bruce.
Your office.
Call for vote.
Aye.
Aye. And I vote aye. Okay, we'll meet. Let's take a